So rain gardens. So this is my little demo, my little mini rain garden. And the premise, as I said, is you disconnect the downpipe so that the water is flowing in, and your roof area that you are taking from ideally needs to be below 40 metres squared, because if you've got too much, then your rain garden is going to be soggy all the time, because it does, soil needs to dry out. You can put a diverter on your downpipe that you divert, and you can set it to only 10%. So if you have got a bigger roof, then you can do that. So you've got your cavity. I have lined this one with some simple pond liner, and I've staple gunned it in. So the wood is going to last a long time. And then I have created the hole for the pipe to come through. Some people use, for the very bottom layer, which is where your pipe is going to sit. So this is this pipe, and how it works is I have drilled some holes in the top section, and this pipe is going to sit on the bottom, and all the excess water that manages to get to the bottom will then, because I haven't put any holes on the bottom, will then carry it through out to the drainage system. So you put this layer, so here it says drainage pipe on the clay pebbles. This is called lecker. It's about £20 for a bag. Environmentally, lecker have done the calculations and say it's way more environmental because you don't need big haulage trucks to deliver it. Okay, so you put your lecker in. And that just allows this pipe to sit on it. On this end, so currently there's nothing on this end, so you use one of these 90-degree fittings, and you have a vertical pipe here, and this acts as your overflow pipe. So what happens is if you get a really big storm, instead of all of the water coming up and causing the soil to flood out and causing it to be soggy for a couple of hours before this is able to take away the water, you have this overflow pipe which just takes away that storm water and takes it straight out. And then you have a little cap that goes on the top to stop leaves going down. So that just acts as your emergency overflow pipe. And then once you have, so ideally the lecker covers this pipe. The sand, this is horticultural grit. It's very coarse. It's not going to block up anything. What I'm probably going to start doing is just using Hessian, because it will stop the initial grit from entering the holes of the pipe. Obviously it will biodegrade after a while, but everything will be very in situ by then. So I think that's a good solution. So you put a layer of sand. So ideally your container is at least 60 centimetres tall. The drainage layer ideally is about 15 centimetres, and then your sand ideally about 5 centimetres. So the sand goes in, and covers your lecker. And then for the soil, so the soil needs to be free draining because you're having a lot of water coming through. So what is recommended is it's a sandy loam topsoil that you use. So that sandy loam is 60% sand, 30% silt and 10% clay. If your soil has more than 30% clay, it's going to become a quagmire and the plants aren't going to be healthy and it's not going to drain properly. So you get your sandy loam topsoil at 60% and then 40% compost just to add in the goodness and the organic matter. So your soil then goes in. Pretend I'm putting the soil in. And then your plants. So things that are going to not need any maintenance, things like your grasses, really sturdy, beefy plants with flowers are good, and they've been tried and tested to be good rain garden plants. Nice flowering scabious, for example, really important to be encouraging the bees in. And where you have your downpipe coming in, that's where you want the plants that like to be wet. So for example, Juncus inflexus is a very water happy plant. So make sure that you plant according to where the water is coming in and where it's going to be a bit drier. And then for aesthetics or to keep the moisture in, then just put your wood chip on the top, and you should have a really nice rain garden.